Hi, welcome back. In this video, I really want you to pay attention here because I'm going to give you a wonderful example of the power of suggestion, the power of our subconscious mind. But in reverse, because we always have to be careful what we influence our subconscious mind. Because remember, our subconscious mind is not biased. It's only give us good things and the bad. Okay, but this is a bad example. This is the power of suggestion, but in the wrong way. And I love this example. And this example comes from Joseph Murphy, and it comes out of the power of the subconscious mind. But 100%, you're doing this indirectly in a different way, or you know somebody that does this. Maybe a family member, maybe a parent, maybe your significant other. You hear it in their talking, you hear it in their speech, and they do it consistently. So this is the power of suggestion, but in a negative side of things. Because remember, the subconscious mind doesn't play favorites. The subconscious mind is non-biased. Okay? It's going to give you whatever you think about, whatever you just say over and over and over again, no matter if you're aware of it or not. But let's jump into this. And this is from Joseph Murphy. This is a real example from him, from the power of the subconscious mind. It's called How He Lost His Arm. And I love this example. It's very short. It's only a few paragraphs, and we'll talk about it, discuss it, then we'll wrap it up. Every 2 or 3 years, I give a series of lectures at the London Truth Forum in Canston Hall. This is a forum I founded a number of years ago. Dr. Evelyn Fleet, the director, told me about an article which appeared in the English newspapers dealing with the power of suggestion. Okay, so we're talking about the power of suggestion here. What is this? Is just another name for the subconscious mind. Almost like you're using a robotic affirmation, something you say over and over and over again, but you're not really saying it as an affirmation. It's just something you got in a habit of saying. But listen to this. This is wonderful. This is the suggestion a man gave to his subconscious mind over a period of about 2 years. So listen to this, okay? This is something the man said over probably a 2-year period to influence his subconscious mind. And this is what he said. I would give my right arm to see my daughter cured. So his daughter must have been sick, but he would always say this, I would give my right arm to see my daughter cured. It appeared that his daughter had a crippling form of arthritis together with a so-called incurable form of skin disease. Medical treatment had failed to alleviate the condition, and the father had an intense longing for his daughter's healing and expressed his desire in the words just quoted. See, this is what he would say just in his speech, and he wouldn't catch himself. He would always say, I would give my right arm to see my daughter cured. Every time he thought about it, every time he was talking to a friend, he would always say this. Dr. Evelyn Fleet said that the newspaper article pointed out that one day the family was out riding when their car collided with another. The father's right arm was torn off at the shoulder, and immediately the daughter's arthritis and skin condition vanished. Isn't that very interesting? I'll read that one more time. I want you to think about it. Okay, here's this guy. His daughter has a very, very severe condition of arthritis. It's incurable as far as medical science. And she has this incurable skin disease. They don't know how she's getting it. They can't cure it. They don't know how to alleviate anything. So for the next 2 years, the father is walking on. Every time he talks to a friend, every time he talks to a family member, he's always saying, I would give my right arm to see my daughter cured. He got in a habit of saying this. And then the paragraph we're on, Dr. Fleet said that the newspaper article pointed out one day that the family was riding when their car collided with another. So they got in a car accident. In the car accident, the father's right arm was torn off at the shoulder. So he lost his right arm. And immediately, once he lost his right arm, his daughter's arthritis and skin condition vanished. And he sums it up with this. You must make certain to give your subconscious mind only suggestions which heal, bless, elevate, and inspire in all your ways. Listen to this. This is where we come down to. We have to be very, very, very aware of what type of things that we're saying to ourselves. Lots of times we're saying things to ourselves that we don't realize it. We're kind of just saying them on autopilot. Okay, we're not paying attention to what we say. Listen, you must make certain to give your subconscious mind only suggestions which heal, bless, elevate, and inspire you in all your ways. Remember that your subconscious mind cannot take a joke. It takes it at your word. And I'm going to change the color here. I always say this in the videos, okay? And I've been saying this over and over and over and over and over, that your subconscious mind is not biased. Your subconscious mind doesn't play favorites. Your subconscious mind don't know you're joking. If you say a joke over and over and over and over and over again, sooner or later, your subconscious mind is just going to accept it as fact. And whatever that joke is, or concerns about, that it's going to start bringing similar things into your life that correspond with that joke that you keep on saying. And even Neville Goddard, I mean, a lot of you follow Neville Goddard, you love Neville Goddard, I love Neville Goddard too. Even Neville Goddard, when he talks about, in a lot of his live lectures, when he talks about imagination creates reality, influence your subconscious mind, how to do it, going inside your imagination and drifting off to sleep. But even he says in his lectures that you can use these powers for good and you can use these powers for evil. But he said, always use them for good. You can use these powers for evil, either on yourself or other people, but you don't do that. You just know you're aware of that can happen, but you always use your powers for good. That's why when you're talking in your speech, you have to be very careful on what you're saying out loud. And how many of us do this? I'm going to scroll down. How many of us do this? Just like this example, how he lost his arm. We might not be saying exactly what this guy got in the habit of saying. We might not be saying, I would give my right arm if my daughter was cured. We might not be saying that, but maybe we're saying something very, very, very similar or indirectly similar that we catch ourselves always saying. Now, lots of times when I would go back and I would visit my family, and since 2020, 2021, I've been visiting my mom a lot more. Usually, spending the summers in Ohio and stuff like that. So for the last 3 years, I've been doing that. I've been going home just because I lived in California for almost 20 years. And I didn't go home very much. And even though I live overseas, I go home way more living overseas than I did when I lived in California, even though I was so much closer. But one of the things I noticed, and even my mom and I talked about this, and sometimes I would catch her saying it, and I would point it out and just flat out tell her, stop talking that way, stop saying this stuff. And in the beginning, she was irritated at me because I would catch her and I would say something. Then after a while, she would kind of get it. Then when she's not thinking, she would come to me and say, "Oh, Chad, I like hanging around you because when I say something that's not right, you kind of catch it and you tell me to stop doing it." Like, I'm not yelling at her, but she was kind of doing something like this. She wasn't saying the exact words, but like, for example, if you get a flat tire, you might get in a habit of saying, "Oh, this always happens to me. Every time I get a little ahead of my life, something bad happens." You might be doing just something like that, but you catch yourself, you're saying it all the time on a consistent basis. And guess what? You're influencing your subconscious mind. That's the power of suggestion. And your subconscious mind is only giving you what you're telling it. And right now, I can't really think like on the spot here what my mom was really saying, but something like that. If she sat down and paid her bills, she would always make a comment, like almost weekly, like, "Oh, I'm never going to get out of debt," or something keeps on occurring. It's something that she always said. I can't really think about it because she don't really say it anymore. So it's kind of out of sight, out of mind, like the dead bury the dead. But she was doing something like this. And that's why you should be really aware of when you're thinking. Sometimes when we think, we just think on autopilot and we just let our mind go wild and we're not aware of what we're thinking. Or we talk out loud either to ourselves or when we're talking out loud to another person, be aware. There's been many a times, even myself, and I know I'm talking fast, but there's been many a times, even myself, where maybe I'm talking to a friend, my guard's down, I'm not really paying attention to what I'm saying. But after we had that conversation, after I walk away, I start being aware of what I was talking about, and I'll think to myself, why did I say that? Why did I start drifting in the negative? And the power of this, how to kind of, and I just kind of thought about it right now, because I kind of get these psychic powers. People's going to comment and be like, how can we fix it? But one of the things we can do is always revise your day. When Neville Goddard says, the power of revision, revise your day, the pruning shears of revision, he talks about it in different forms. Our mind's a garden. You have to prune the garden, keep your garden clean. We should be revising our day throughout the whole day. If something happens in your day you don't like, you just immediately revise it. You just flip it and you play that scene again in your mind exactly how you want it to go. Okay, if you're saying something like this, lots of times what I would do two things. I would either revise my day, sit back for a second, even for 30 seconds. It doesn't have to be a 30-minute meditation. Okay, and you just think back to that conversation. The conversation is only positive. You said only positive things, and that's revision. Okay, or sometimes I catch myself, especially if I'm in private, my mind goes in the gutter, and I'll have affirmations or a robotic affirmation that I would actually start saying, especially if it's around, especially if it's around debt or if it's around spending money. The big thing for me is, for some reason, is spending money. Okay, it's always been in me as a kid. I've talked about this in many of my videos, or several of them, not all of them, but it's always been, I don't know why I don't like to spend money. I just don't like to spend money. Okay, and I know it stems from my childhood somewhere. I picked it up along the line. But even if I have money, to go out to eat, I just feel this nervous energy that every time I go to spend money, especially if it's cash, like especially in Thailand, I feel it more in Thailand, just because in Thailand is still kind of, the cash is king. Like you can pay with your card, of course, but a lot of people, even a lot of locals, pay cash for everything. Not so much like the United States, where everything's a debit card or a credit card. But I notice, like, when I come to Thailand, everything's cash. Every time I pay for cash, I just have this nervous energy, and I don't know why. But every time I have that energy, and I feel it, it's like, because it's me, of course, I'll have this robotic affirmation. I'll just say, like, no, every time I spend money, I make double comes back to me. Okay? Every time something bad happens to me, I'm repaid by 7 times. This is right in the Bible. Okay? I'll just say this stuff over and over and over. Every time I have that nervous energy, I just create my own little affirmation, and it doesn't have no conflict in my mind, and I just say it over and over and over. Or sometimes I'm walking through a store, maybe going grocery shopping. As I'm walking through the store, I'm saying it to myself, not out loud. You know what I mean? People might stay away from me. They see me doing this. But when I walk through the store, I'm telling myself, I can buy anything I want in here. I can buy, whatever I want, I'm going to buy. I mean, thank you, Lord, that you bless me with so much money. Thank you, Lord, I can come and buy stuff. Thank you, Lord, you're blessing me. Thank you, Lord, every time I spend money, it double comes back to me. Because I know that's a trigger with me. I know, for whatever reason, that, I get uncomfortable, when I spend money. And just trying to fix it. Sometimes you have those childhood things that was brought up in childhood. And I can remember, when I was a child and we would go to festivals, maybe I was 10 years old, 12, my sister was 5 years younger. We would go to a festival. We had a big festival in Ohio called the Bratwurst Festival. And my mom, maybe I was 15, maybe not 12, but mom would give us like $20. She would give the money to me, not my sister, because I was older. And we would go to the festival, even if she gave me 20 or 30 bucks or 40 bucks, no matter what it was. When we came home in the evening, I would always give her back the change. But when I gave her back the change, I would give her the exact amount that she gave me. I didn't spend nothing. Then my sister was like, he never did. My sister was like, "You wouldn't let me even buy anything." You know, if my mom took me to a store, she told me I could pick out a toy, I would always pick out the cheapest toy, not the toy I really wanted. You know what I mean? So I was doing this as a child. But anyway, kind of flipping back, just the power of suggestion. Okay, this is the power of our subconscious mind. This is how powerful we really are. That's why we have to be really careful on what we're saying. What we're saying on autopilot. What we're saying we're not even conscious or aware of. Okay? Just like in this example of how he lost his arm. That's the power of suggestion. Then the question is, are you doing it? Don't beat yourself up if you're doing it. Maybe you're doing it, or you're doing it indirectly, you're doing it in a different way. Maybe you're doing it in a small way. Maybe you know somebody close to you that does it, that you need to point it out to them. Because if you're around them all the time, if they're constantly saying things, it's going to rub off on you. You know what I mean? Like when I go home and I visit family for a few months, 3.5 months, okay, if I'm always hanging around my mom and her mind's always in a gutter and she's speaking out loud negative all the time, well, that's going to influence me. No matter how positive I think I am, that's going to influence me. That's why I started to kind of coach my mom a little bit. I said, Mom, catch my mom saying stuff and kind of correct her a little bit. Mom, stop saying that. Stop making this comment. Say this. Because that way it doesn't rub off on me. Then and then on the other side, it helps her. Then, like I said in the beginning, she was irritated with it a little bit, irritated with me a little bit. But then after a while, she came back and said, "Oh, I like hanging around you because, like, you're positive or positive. Plus, if my mind goes in the gutter, you just point it out in me. You just point it out and tell me to stop thinking that way. Think this way over here." But anyway, pay attention to this. I mean, I can't stress this enough. There's just the power that we have. And we have all this power. The same power I have, you have. The same power Jesus has, you have. But we use it in reverse. People think manifesting don't work. People think, well, I can't get my attention. This stuff don't work. But it does work for you, but it's working in the opposite direction. Everything you see in your 3D world, no matter if you like it or not, you've created that. No matter if you want to believe that or not. That's the power we have. Like if you don't like what's going on, certain things are happening, well, you're creating that, but the great news is you can change it. But most of the time, it's really just coming down to our thoughts, what we're kind of thinking in habit over and over and over and over again, what's our deep-rooted beliefs, but that's gonna manifest outward. But other than that, my friends, I wanted to wrap this up. Didn't want to turn this into a 30-minute video or anything. But I love this example. I always highlight it. It always sticks with me every time I read The Power of the Subconscious Mind by Joseph Murphy. But anyway, blessings to you. Comment below. I love to hear from you. Remember, I love you guys. See you at the top. And remember, have a blessed day. See ya.